So everyone wants to know what I think about Asian feminism. Now, ironically, when we talk about feminism, we're talking about some weird, convoluted ideology that supports women's rights, an intellectual front for women to discuss philosophy and post-structural ideals, and somehow along the way it gets convoluted to mean egalitarianism, right? Because that's what all the feminists argue for. When really the history of feminism just has been, or when everybody says the word feminist, they're really referring to the girls only club that tries to act like intellectual white men. And it's so ironic that the only race of people that have been practicing feminism have been white women. Black feminists and other non-white feminists seem to be a joke on that, or at least some strange bastardization or perverted nature of the Victorian woman. But for this, I'm talking about the Asian feminist. Now, if you don't know, a yellow feminist or Asian feminist is quite contrary to the bitchy feminist everyone hates. The Asian feminist is certainly against the patriarchy, the P, but she's not talking about some universal patriarchy. She's particularly talking about Asian patriarchy. And she would like to destroy Asian patriarchy in favor to liberate herself from that, and therefore get with a white husband and a white man, and annoy the other white feminists who hate white men because they're shrewd cat ladies. And the white feminist is pissed off at the Asian feminist because the Asian feminist is ironically or supporting this kind of masculine value for just a benefit for white men, really. So Asian feminists are a good thing and they're beneficial. However, I set a link below down in the YouTube box that I recently wrote an article for my website at www.asian-aryanism.com. And that is the Asian feminist fallacy. Now, today we're in a stage where if you're a white girl of upper middle class and you're on a trust fund and you're debt-free from college or have a degree from a women's school, pretty much you consider yourself a feminist, even though you probably have a stupid Bumble or a Tinder and act like a bimbo blonde cheerleader. You do this because you think it's cool, because you want to be a normie, and somehow it got convoluted, and it's really disgusting. Ask any of these so-called feminists what Andrea Dworkin is, and they won't know. But that's not the point. The point is that women, girls, Asian girls, that want to be feminist emulate this behavior. And they would like to have a white husband. However, they're also very anti-white. And they are kind of pro-SJW. That's weird. Now, I guess what most white liberal men have been doing, the Bernie bros, has been basically shutting up about this, not addressing it, and just kind of going it under the rug. And, oh yeah, I'm not one of those meathead jocks, so yeah, I love feminism, yeah. And then they do some weird pre-Socratic things like having a job, making $50,000 a year or more, and naturally getting the Americanized Asian women onto the side and creating a Fox traditional family. Ironically, it shows you that the Asian feminist has a fallacy that is counterproductive towards Asian-Aryanism. The counterproductive notion is that she doesn't want to be yellow-pilled or want to understand or know that she is contributing to a new Eurasian race of people. She wants to be white, and the current ideal, the distant space, the ideology to be white is being anti-white. White people are neutered of racial consciousness, so by default, a white person is not allowed to think in terms of his race. So when a non-white wants to assimilate being white, she's trying to be white too, but can't be white, so she develops these anti-white rhetoric. Another thing that's really stupid is that these feminists, especially the Asian feminists, will assume that all white men are the same, or that all white men want or at least treat Asian women as objects. And it's her duty to treat everyone as egalitarian beings, and so they wouldn't have this discrimination or prejudice. This is another false claim because there are authentic white men with STEM degrees that like anime and like really cutesy stuff like this band, My Bloody Valentine, and like Asian girls authentically. It's really obviously stupid when an Asian feminist seems to think that even the most weakest of white guys have the best self-confidence that they should be condemned, that it's wrong to somehow be yellow-pilled. And there's a lack of understanding about white male identity and on that behavior. Now, it's very strange for the Asian feminist, as she is really a good cause for Asian-Aryanism, but she fails to understand to be an Asian-Aryan. Now, of course, she'll irrationally become white male, Asian female. There are certain people on the internet that the liberal world is now arguing for Asian male, white female. That's kind of the ideal. You know, that's kind of common too, but there are certain really crazy liberals that will go forth and say that this is even better than white male, Asian female simply because there's no white man in it, right? What's great to have an oppressive white female that has no patriarchy and an Asian male that plays StarCraft and doesn't have that white male patriarchy? There's something beautiful about that. That's what crazy liberals will tend to believe, and I don't think there's anything weird about that. I think that's, as an Asian-Aryan, that you support that. But there's this very hostile environment that the liberal world just is anti-white. And so an Asian feminist would say to her white male significant other that he should uphold Asian standards of beauty, and then naturally they will come to you. But however, there are also Asian males that would like to fit white standards, but they certainly can't compete with other white men, because even if they work out and become Yukio Mishima, they will never have the body of a typical buff white guy. They just look like fat Michelin men. Now, some of these Asian men become SJWs, and then they'll want to tear down this white patriarchal system so it can become egalitarian. This is all just normie behavior, and I'm talking particularly about the fallacy of the Asian feminist, because once people look for a third position of Asian-Aryanism, could we put the follies of normie culture aside? Because normie culture is the enemy. It's just going down on a downhill of decadence and into nihilism. That's really what we see, this proxy. As I wrote in another article about the cult of the extroverts, everyone is all about doing and living their lives. Nobody wants to put an intellectual introverted foundation into this. You have to have dedicated people for this, and we have to get these people on the Asian-Aryan side. The Asian feminist right now can provide so much for the movement, but she needs to be yellow-pilled and be proud to be an Asian-Aryan. She just cannot have this anti-white rhetoric. The fallacy is pretty much clear and open on that matter.